the avenue of proud accomplishment. I want it to be maybe a place where your wisdom and your idea, in other words, you probably have never just solely been able to accomplish anything. You had to work with people to accomplish something. Mm-hmm. The thing that where you maybe turned something around and it turned out really great, or it was, I'd be curious about who you might have worked for, or you were most proud of it because this certain person asked you to do something and you were happy to do it and it turned out great. In other words, not so much about family, more about community and maybe church stuff, or I mean, I just don't know. Mm-hmm. So the seed that I'm planting is perhaps not today, but we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's deep under the chair. It's way under the chair. Your glasses
Oh
just
yeah,
fell.
I'm not using them.
Dad, where's your key? I'm gonna move your truck.
Oh,
I'm going for a stroll in the botanical garden, and I'll be back.
We're in Palos Verdes?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you'll be back for dinner.
Palos Verdes.
Go straight down.
Is that still?
She has a friend out there that they get together.
I thought the whole place burned down.
Palos Verdes. South
Oh,
side.
Palisades. Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You'd be lucky to grab it. I saw it slide. It's towards the back of the chair.
Okay, it's okay. I don't need them.
A pleasure, Debbie. And I'm sorry about my truck there. Yeah. I just need short walks.
I don't blame you. I was so sore and tired yesterday. I couldn't do my yoga class. I was just, and I didn't sleep well. What was it, Tuesday night? And so when I got up Wednesday morning to go to the class, I shouldn't have gone, but I went anyway. And I ended up spending, 2/3 of the class lying on the mat. But I did do the floor postures, but the standing postures.
To put you in your place, I work out 4 days a week, but this week we had grandpa duty, so I was doing tea parties, veterinarian examinations. I was playing doctor. And the 4-year-old, we were pretending, and so I wasn't able to do any of the stuff that I usually do. So
That's
on
one
Monday,
of Chris's grandchildren.
yeah, no, yes, yeah, all right, yeah, that's exactly right. Her namesake. I've told you the story about. She was married to a guy that went from sweeping. If I've told you this, no, I won't waste your time, but you're going to have to tell me. He went from sweeping floors in Tecate for a company, and somebody put a red flag on the production line, and he'd run over to that red flag and fix whatever needed to be fixed. And he rose to the top of Emermex, Mexico. He was the president or CEO or whatever the hell they call it. And he's still, I guess, chairman of the board that oversees that company. And he was, if you're to believe him, was going to be the head of Pemex, Mexico, because some president wanted him to be that.
Right?
And you did meet him.
We did.
And we have a pretty good relationship, to tell you the truth. In fact, he's cried in front of me before. I'm pretty good at drawing out people, and I am grateful for. He comes to our Thanksgiving thing, and he comes to he was at Christmas dinner. He was the 16th person at Christmas dinner, and it's good that we're at that situation. He couldn't keep his dick in his pants, and he screwed up a lot of stuff along the way. Anyway.
That's power.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, when you watch this P. Diddy documentary, you will really think very long and hard about about the influence of power on a man's life. Some of them just go ape shit. You know, they just.
I think rules are for somebody else.
Yeah, and it makes you think. You know, what is the nature of sex? Is it fundamentally a power relationship? Because it just went crazy. And the Jeffrey guy who killed
Epstein.
himself, and the Weinstein guy. I don't know. Politicians, presidents are pretty good, although you know Clinton and Roosevelt. And Roosevelt was crippled, you know, and he had girlfriends, and I don't know what you know, and so Debbie and I were having this discussion in that context. She as a woman, and as a beautiful woman, and the kind of things she got invited to, and she's, you know, she said this morning, you know, she says, I really have to thank my father, although he wasn't, you know, there necessarily and telling me and advising me, oh, accept this invitation, don't accept that invitation, but just his
Time with me.
the boundaries that he set for her as a little girl, she observed when she went off to college. And so when she was, it was interesting that she said it this way. She always put it in the context of race. She said it was always these white guys who were inviting me for weekends and for this and for that. And she and her father didn't like white men.
Okay.
And told her, don't you ever bring one home, kind of thing.
Not here, huh?
And so she says, you know, she never dated. She dated a white guy who was Persian when she was at Cal Poly, and once or something like that. And she just, her father was in her head.
It just
And she
wasn't
said
going to happen.
She
Huh?
didn't have any fun, kind of thing.
Well, you had white guys after you when you were on the boat to Oxford. You told me.
No, well,
in Oxford or something.
In London.
Yeah.
The first Romy and I are walking around the street.
But I see from our conversations here, you. Well, I mean, I don't know what the typical life of a person in Watts was, but it seems like you were very inexperienced, more so than most.
Oh yeah.
When you went to Whittier College.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I went to Oxford, I was still a virgin, and that's very interesting, because it's sort of like Debbie in that sense, you know. In my case, my mother's morality compelled her to teach her sons to respect women, and it was the kind of respect for the woman's sexuality, like if you and I'm putting words in my mother's mouth, but it would be like if you destroy a woman's virginity before she's ready to part with her virginity, then you've injured her for life. You've hurt somebody, and you don't want to hurt anybody. You're a big man. So if you bump into somebody, and that's my instinct to this day. If I bump into somebody, the first thing I do is grab them to hold them up so that they won't fall, you know. And it's like, it looks like good manners, but it's in fact this kind of ethic that my mother taught about being the big man in the room, kind of thing.
But I want to say,
and that's very much a part of my
the morals
personality.
and the guardrails of, and I'm going to say Christianity, and I suppose you could talk about Jewish and Muslim and all kinds of other things, but we were of the Christian community. In that time, it was kind of like that. Her mom and I had done everything but have intercourse, but she was a virgin on her wedding night, and so was I. I had never dipped my wick in anything, and that was at 23. And I had never done that with another person until, the only person I ever had sex with until I was 40 years old was her. Never had with anybody else. Now, between 40 and 50, that's certainly not the case, but up to 40, I had a fantasy life that I guess I'd have to say didn't include my wife. I don't know what to say about that.
You had Playboy magazines that I found as a kid. Sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
no, I don't know
But that was
that's
sublimation.
the case.
Sublimation.
That's kind of like pornography, to vent that
Release that.
that urge
Yeah.
that you have,
Yeah.
kind of thing. I had Playboy magazines
Yeah.
when I was a senior at Whittier, and I brought them home
Well,
and
I don't know.
and put them in my room. And when my mother saw them, she sat down on the edge of my bed, took the Playboy magazine and started leaving. What is this? But it wasn't. But she wasn't condemnatory, because she didn't.
Yeah.
She was very. I mean, the fact that she didn't want me out there swinging my thing in the jungle didn't mean that she was gonna
Yeah, that's
raise a
great.
punk.
Yeah.
And she was very, and my older brothers, especially Donald, not so much Ed, because Ed had died before I was 13, but Donald was always, because I was, quote, studious, he was always concerned about me being gay. That he thought that I would turn out to be a homosexual because of the world that I was in. But and because of the way my mother treated all of us. But I can say this, I do think I there's some merit to that. But I had these counterweights. I had athletics. I had this strong street ethic in Watts that there was pretty few things lower than a fag in Watts.
Yeah,
And,
got it.
And so, that always, but I've never been attracted. And the thing, I've never
no,
been attracted to men
no,
at all.
no,
To this day, while I'm
yeah,
tolerant of gay men, and I think that they should be given every right that everybody else has, I'm still not attracted to men. And I will compliment you on your good looks, but it's not an attraction. It's not a sexual attraction.
I have no interest.
Like
I
homosexuals have.
completely, and that's why a lot of the right-wing propaganda talks about how this showing homosexuality in media and so forth and so on is a bad influence for children. I don't think it's a bad influence for children, because it's because either you have that or you don't have it. It's not a question of if I get too close to it, I'm going to like it or something.
Well, my very close relative is like that. He's terrified that his sons would be exposed to anything homosexual, and that gay men are given equal social status as heterosexual men. That bothers him. He's also bothered by the fact that that his family is threatened by the liberalization.
And now it's
of
transgendered.
our sexual
Transgendered is the
morals.
deep political hammer that the right wing is using right now. It's on transgendered.
It's all.
And there's about a
that's a
percent of
big-
people. There's about a percent of people in the world that are transgendered.
It's a fraction of 1% in that service. I think it came down to 200 people or something like that. And so this executive order, which is sweeping,
in the
and
military.
it sounds like and it will go down in history as resolving some type of social issue of our times, is really not an issue.
So I guess I want to posit this. I hope she's recording this. I think it's kind of a good conversation. I don't know. It looks like
she walked
isn't.
away.
Yeah,
So she's satisfied with the voice level.
okay. Well, I hope that's the
and
case.
the lighting.
If you were to take randomly two people of our age and sit them in a chair and have this conversation, I think more often than not it would be a similar conversation. Now, cut to this. If you were to take two 21-year-olds of today, 21 years old today, and set them in the chair and have a conversation along these lines, I think it would probably be a very different conversation
Then
than the one we just had. The one we just had in terms of it was the right thing to do to be a virgin when you on your wedding night. That was the right thing to do. That's what you kind of strove for that, especially if you went to church or something like that. But I don't think that's the case today. I look back as a teacher and a principal, and when I was leaving the intermediate school, a blowjob wasn't sex. A blowjob that was not sex. And the girls would if they had if they had any cleavage, they were sporting it.
and that's what Monica Lewinsky said.
Well, okay.
She said that wasn't sex.